Hello, thanks for tuning into this short video outlining SECOORA bylaw changes. The purpose of this video is to overview the charge to the Governance Committee to review the bylaws and to provide background and details for each recommended bylaw change that is up for vote. In the packet, you'll have a summary and strike-through version of the bylaw changes. I will reference the pages of the strike-through version of the bylaws. In May 2022, the board charged the Governance Committee to review the bylaws to ensure current practices are reflected in it, to also review board composition from the perspective of encouraging more diverse membership. There are sections of the bylaws that were dated and no longer reflected SECOORA's current practices. The Governance Committee members include Jim Murley, who is chair, Cliff Mers, Lynn Leonard, and Tracy Smart. The key items they reviewed were affiliate membership voting rights, increasing the number of public seats, reviewing committee language and removing those no longer needed, and adding a section on financial policy and procedures. The committee had 2 meetings and recorded key discussion points through comments in the documents and by email. The recommendations are listed on the side. They were presented to the board on December 8th. The board reviewed each recommendation and approved each one. During the next part of this video, we will walk through each recommendation and point to the different pages on the bylaw strike-through. All right, recommendation 1 is to expand the number of public seats from 1 to up to 3 and actively recruit more diverse voices. See page 7. SECOORA has elevated recruiting more diverse voices to join the board. We heard members' dues might be a barrier for some audience. SECOORA would like to engage and ask them to participate on the board. The Governance Committee and the board are supportive of expanding the public seat from 1 to up to 3 members. Public seats are open to non-members, so therefore do not have to pay dues. The intent is that leaders in our region and/or a field of ocean observing could be invited to be on the board to bring those missing perspectives and elevated visibility to SECOORA. Currently, Conrad Lautenbacher holds the only public seat. Board members and Governance Committee members agreed that if membership supports the recommendation to expand the number of public seats, that it was not mandatory that all new seats be filled. Rather, the goal is to take the time needed to cultivate those diverse relationships to fill those public seats. All right, recommendation number 2 is to change the quorum requirement to follow Robert's Rules of Orders, which most organizations use. See page 8. Robert Rules of Orders specify that quorum is the number that equals greater than 50% of membership. Quorum for SECOORA is now 70% for board votes. SECOORA is seeking to change the quorum to greater than 50% to allow for easier convening of the board as long as there is a majority present. No Governance Committee or board members oppose this change. Next up is recommendation number 3, and that is to remove or revise any tasks and committees that reflect the current state of SECOORA. SECOORA is currently operating differently than when we did in the past when these bylaws were created. It is time to refresh the committee structure and remove any unnecessary sections of the bylaws. As a reminder, program committees serve under the direction of the executive director and policy committees serve under the direction of the board. I recommend referencing your bylaw strike-through document for tracking these changes. I'm going to go over a quick summary here. So throughout the document, there are grammatical errors that we caught when reviewing it. So you will see them highlighted in track changes. We just want to fix them. And due to these suggested changes, section numbering has changed and the final bylaw document will be renumbered so everything is correct. On page 10, under the Board Development Committee, the recommendation is to remove the statement, design and implement a board evaluation process. The board has been self-governing since its inception and has never implemented a formal review process for individual members. SECOORA has a comprehensive conflict of interest policy that helps assure transparent and objective operations. Formal review of individual members would be a significant administrative burden and is not necessary at this time. On page 11, we're suggesting removing the Public Policy Committee. The committee has not been operational for over a decade. The board fills this role and leads the development of decisions on public policy. Again, on page 11, we want to revise the language for the Stakeholder Advisory Council to reflect our current operations and mechanism for receiving input from various stakeholder interest groups. SECOORA currently receives input from stakeholders through the Southeastern Ocean Coastal Acidification Network, SOCAN, Southeastern Caribbean Disaster Resilience Partnership, and known as SCDRP. The recommended amendments include changing the name to the Stakeholder Advisory Groups versus Stakeholder Advisory Council and adding in affiliate programs. On page 11, program committees serve under the direction of the executive director. Just wanted to give you a reminder there, because what we're doing is we're proposing to going from 4 program committees to 2 program committees. The bylaws allow for a formation of ad hoc committees as needed, so there remains the option of establishing a for-purpose committee if needed to address future issues that may arise. We are suggesting removing the program committee's data management and communications committee, Ocean Data Partnership, and the Operations and Management Committee. These committees have not been active for over a decade. We are keeping the Science Committee and the Education and Outreach Committee. All right, so the last recommendation is adding a section on financial policies and procedures. Currently, there is no reference to a financial policy and procedures in the bylaws. So if you see on page 12, we want to add section 1, Financial Policy and Procedures. SECOORA complies with an internal financial policy and procedure document. The board authorizes the Finance and Audit Committee to periodically review and update the document. This was discussed by the Finance and Audit Committee and the board. Both are in agreement to add this section. And I do want to highlight again that if these recommendations are changed, all the section numbering will be updated and will be correct in the final document. All right, so that's it. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch the summary of the bylaw changes. I want to thank you for being members as well and engaging with SECOORA. We hope to see you at the annual meeting, and I hope you have a great day and happy voting. Have a great one.